Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. In this lesson, we are going to learn about subject pronouns and the verb to be in Persian. In the previous lessons, we have learned about the demonstrative pronouns and adjectives, and we learned how to form basic sentences. And then in the lesson after that, we learned how to form yes or no questions and also how to form interrogative questions by using the interrogative what. In this lesson, we are going to learn about the subject pronouns, and then we are going to learn about the verb to be in Persian. We are going to start the lesson by going over the Persian subject pronouns. So we are going to start on the right side with the singular pronouns. So man, to, u, and on the left side, the plural pronouns ma, shoma, anha. Now, a few things that you need to know about Persian subject pronouns. The first one is about the subject pronoun to. So as you can see here, it is written as to, but this letter vav is silent, and there's a short vowel, implied short vowel o on the letter t, as you can see here. So it's pronounced to. And also the pronoun shoma is used when we want to be more polite and formal, which shoma is for second person plural, but we also use it for singular. If we are talking, for example, to an older person, to a stranger, then we use shoma. The second point is about the subject pronoun u. So in Farsi, there is no gender pronoun. So by hearing u, we don't know if we are referring to a male person or to a female person. And also there is a formal version for u, which is ishan. And now the other point is about the subject pronoun anha. The informal of anha, anha is either pronounced una or unha. And also there is a more formal version for anha, which is also ishan. So ishan is also for third person plural and third person singular. And then anha, it also means those, which we already learned in the lesson about demonstrative pronouns and adjectives. Conjugations of the verb to be. So the verb to be in Farsi is bودن. Here in this table on the right side, you will see the personal pronouns. And then on the column next to it, you will see the verbal endings. So now, in order to conjugate the verb to be, بودن, in the present tense, then we need the present stem of that. The present stem of بودن is hast. You just need to memorize it. Now we go ahead and attach the verbal ending to the present stem. So here, when the subject is man, when we attach this mim to the present stem, it's going to give me hastam. Now I'm going to read through the verbs. So hastam, hasti, hast, hastim, hastid, hastand. And remember, here for the verb to be, بودن, has no conjugation for third person singular. The informal conjugations of the pronouns shoma and anha changes a little bit. So here we said hastid. So in informal language, this dal here, this dal letter, becomes a noon. So hastid becomes a noon. So hastid is hastin. And for anha, hastand. So this verbal ending, the whole verbal ending becomes a noon. So hastand becomes hastan. Now let's go over the negative. So for the negative, the letter he in the present stem, he here, gets replaced by ni. So hast becomes nist. So here it's going to read من نیستم، تو نیستی، او نیست، ما نیستیم، شما نیستید، آنها نیستند. Before we start seeing some examples, let me quickly go over the sentence structure in Persian. I have already talked about this in the lesson about demonstrative pronouns and adjectives. but I'm just going to quickly go over it here right now one more time. So we want to say the sentence, I am Mariam. And as you can see here, in English, the verb comes after the subject, but in Farsi, the verb comes at the end. So we need to start with the subject, man, and then the object, Mariam, and then the verb at the end, hastam. So this meme here is the conjugation for the subject pronoun, man. Another thing that you need to know here is that subject pronouns in Farsi, they don't need to be specifically mentioned because by hearing the conjugation, it's clear who the subject is. So this can be put in a bracket. Now we are going to go over some examples for each subject pronouns, and we are going to start with the subject pronoun man. And here is a verbal ending for man. So we already did the first one. We said I am Mariam is man Mariam hastam. But now I want to say I am Iranian. So Iranian is Irani. And this letter E here, it makes it a proper adjective. Without this letter E is pronounced Iran, which is the country. All right, so man Irani hastam. Now, the next one we want to say I am a Persian teacher. So teacher is muallim. You might have heard other terms for teacher. They're a little bit more specific. So muallim is more general. So I'm just going to go with muallim. And then in Farsi, the article a is not needed when we are talking about professions. So basically, we need to say I am Persian teacher. من معلم فارسی هستم. So here we need to have an implied اضافه to connect معلم and Farsi. Alright, so now I am going to read through these sentences one more time. If you want, you can just listen to it so you can get some practice in the listening part, or you can also read through it as I am reading. So من مریم هستم. من ایرانی هستم. من معلم فارسی هستم. And again, remember, we do not need to specifically mention man again because it's already clear in the subject conjugation who the subject is. But I did read through them, so you can just get some practice in listening to it. But in general, you don't have to pronounce the subject pronouns each time. Now we are going to move on to the subject pronoun to. So we want to say you are Tom. To Tom hasti. Or we can also just say Tom hasti. You are a Persian student. So student is shagird. There are more specific terms for student, but shagird is more general. So we're just going to go with shagird. And again, we do not need to have the article e when translating the sentence. So to shagird Farsi hasti. Shagird. And also remember that Farsi is only the language, because in English, Persian is the ethnicity. It could be Persian food, but in Farsi, in Persian, so Farsi is only when we are referring to the language. All right, now we want to say you are American. So American is Amrikai, and again, this E part, it makes it a proper adjective. Without this E, it makes it the country America. So to Amrikai hasti. Now I'm going to read through these sentences one more time so you can hear them or you can read with me. So to Tom hasti. تو شاگرد فارسی هستی. تو آمریکایی هستی. Now let's go over to the subject pronoun او. No conjugation for او. So now we want to say she is Mina. او Mina هست. Next one, Mina is not old. Old is pir. You might have heard about qadimi, but qadimi is only for objects. We do not use it for people. Mina pir nist. So here the verb is negative, not old. So the he become ni. نیست. Now we want to say she is young. Young is جوان. او جوان هست. Now I'm going to read through them. So او مینا هست. مینا پیر نیست. جوان هست. Next is the subject pronoun ما. So we are going to start with the first one. We are not home. Home is خانه and the verb here is negative. ما خانه نیستیم. Now we want to say we are at the hospital. So the preposition at, in, or on in Persian is dar. And then hospital is بیمارستان. ما در بیمارستان هستیم. So dar here, it's in a bracket because it's not very strict in Farsi. So we can also say ما بیمارستان هستیم. Next one, we are sick. Sick, there's two terms for it, either مریض or بیمار. ما مریض هستیم. Now I'm just going to read through them one more time. ما خانه نیستیم. ما در بیمارستان هستیم. ما مریض هستیم. Now the next subject pronoun شما, and again شما is second person plural, but it can also be second person singular, formal, or polite. Right now we want to say you are not outside, and outside is بیرون. شما بیرون نیستید. You are at the library. Library is کتابخانه. The literal translation is house of book because kitab is book, khane is home or house. Right? So شما در کتابخانه هستید. And again here the preposition در does not need to be specifically mentioned. So we can also say شما کتابخانه هستید. Next one we want to say you are tired. Tired is خسته. شما خسته هستید. Now I'm going to read through them. شما بیرون نیستید. شما در کتابخانه هستید. شما خسته هستید. And the last one is the subject pronoun آنها. So now we want to say the kids are at the restaurant. And kids singular بچه. So we need to make it plural. And then restaurant is the same vocab. Restaurant is just the pronunciation is different. Restaurant. Okay. بچه ها در رستوران هستند. And بچه ها falls under the category of آنها. So the conjugation will be for آنها. Now we want to say they are not thirsty. And thirsty is تشنه. آنها تشنه نیستند. Next one, they are very hungry. So very is خیلی and hungry is either گشنه or گرسنه. آنها خیلی گشنه هستند. And now I'm just going to read through them one more time. بچه ها در رستوران هستند. آنها تشنه نیستند. آنها خیلی گشنه هستند. Now we are going to learn about the contraction of the verb بودن. For example, here in English, on the left side here we have I am happy. You can also say I'm happy. So this is a contraction of I am. So in Farsi we have also something similar. So here the way it works is that I'm going to start with the first example. من خوشحال هستم. And خوشحال means happy. So we here in purple color is the present stem. So the present stem, we drop that and then the verbal ending gets attached to the word before that. Whether it's a noun or an adjective, it gets attached to that. So it becomes خوشحالم. So now I'm going to read the second one. تو خوشحال هستی becomes خوشحالی. The third one is a little bit exception. That's why it's highlighted in color green. And because if I completely drop the present stem here in purple color, then I'm going to be left with nothing. But we still need to have some kind of conjugation. So that's why we need to replace it by the letter he, silent he, silent he. So it's going to be او خوشحال هست becomes خوشحاله. Next one, ما خوشحال هستیم becomes خوشحالیم. And next one, شما خوشحال هستید خوشحالید. آنها خوشحال هستند خوشحالند. Let's also take a quick look at the informal conjugation, which we already kind of covered, but just one more time here. So we said that خوشحال هست, the first one. So the whole hast part becomes replaced by a silent he. So it becomes خوشحاله. And for شما خوشحالید, so we said earlier that the dal part becomes a noon. So خوشحالید is pronounced in informal language خوشحالین. And for آنها خوشحالند, we said earlier that the verbal ending becomes a noon. So it's pronounced خوشحالن. The contraction is very commonly used in the spoken language. That's why it's very important for you guys to get some practice here. So now we are going to take a look at examples for each subject pronoun, but now the contraction of it. So here in the first one, we want to say, I'm here, right? Which the more formal one is like I am, but we want to say I'm here. So it's going to go as, here is اینجا, man, or the man can be put in a bracket, اینجام. So اینجام is the contraction of اینجا هستم, which we said earlier that we drop the present stem and then the ending goes with the word before that. So اینجام. Next, we want to say I'm happy. Happy is خوشحال. من خوشحالم, which is خوشحال هستم, but the meme goes here. خوشحالم. Next one, we want to say I am not tired, and tired is خسته. من خسته نیستم. Here there is no contraction for the negative, remember that. Now I am going to read through the sentences one more time, and this time I am not going to pronounce the subject pronouns. So the first one, اینجام خوشحالم خسته نیستم. Next, we will be looking at the subject pronoun تو. First example, you are at the airport. Airport is فرودگاه. Remember, every time you see the suffix گاه, it means that it is referring to a place. So in this case, فرود, it comes from the verb فرود آمدن. It means to land. So basically, like a direct translation for airport would be place of landing. You know, if it helps to memorize it better. The first one is going to go as تو در فرودگاهی. Next one, we want to say you are worried. Worried is نگران. تو نگرانی. And again, remember, we don't even have to say تو. We can just be نگرانی. Next one, you are very angry. Very is خیلی, angry is عصبانی. تو خیلی عصبانی. So here, if you've noticed or not, here there is an aleph before the conjugation. The reason is that because the noun already, here it's an adjective, because the adjective already ends in a ye, so before adding the other ye for the verbal ending, we need to add an aleph before that to make the pronunciation easier. So asabani. All right, so now I'm going to read through these sentences one more time. تو در فرودگاهی نگرانی تو خیلی عصبانی. Now we will be looking at the subject pronoun او. First example, the name of this girl is Shirin. So name is اسم and girl is دختر. اسم این دختر شیرینه. As you can see here, اسم is the subject and اسم it falls under the subject pronoun it, and it is third person singular, so it will get this conjugation. Next, we want to say Shirin is young and beautiful. So young is javan, but the informal is javun. Beautiful is خوشگل or ziba. Shirin, javan و خوشگله. The more informal pronunciation of the sentences, Shirin, javun و خوشگله. Next one, she is at the flower shop. So flower shop is گل فروشی. گل is flower and then فروشی is like the shop. So گل فروشی. او در گل فروشیه. Now I'm going to read through these sentences again. اسم این دختر شیرینه. شیرین جوان و خوشگله. Or the informal pronunciation is شیرین جوون و خوشگله. او در گل فروشیه. Or again, we don't have to say در, we can say او گل فروشیه. Next is the subject pronoun ما, and here is the ending. So first sentence, we want to say now we are at the office. So now is either الان or حالا, and then office is اداره. الان ما در اداره ایم. And again, we need to add an aleph because اداره ends in a silent he. So الان ما در اداره ایم. Or we can also not mention ما because the ending is already clear who the subject is. Next, we want to say we're happy. And happy is خوشحال. ما خوشحالیم. Or we can just say خوشحالیم. Next, we want to say we're not tired. And tired is خسته. ما خسته نیستیم. And again, remember, there is no contraction when the verb is in negative. I'm just going to read through them one more time. I might or might not pronounce the subject pronoun. So first, الان در اداره ایم. ما خوشحالیم. خسته نیستیم. Next, we will be looking at the subject pronoun شما, and here is the verbal ending for that. And then remember, there is an informal version of that too, which the letter dal becomes the letter nun. So first example, we want to say you're at the bank, and bank is the same vocab, it's just the pronunciation is different. In Farsi, we say bank. شما در بانکید or bankin. Next, the bank is busy and you are tired. So busy is شلوغ and tired خسته. بانک شلوغه و شما خسته اید. Or خسته این. And remember شلوغه, this is conjugation for third person singular that goes, that's it for the subject bank, and then this is conjugation for شما. Next, you're not happy, and happy is خوشحال. شما خوشحال نیستید or نیستین. Next is the subject pronoun آنها, and here is the verbal ending for آنها. And remember, there is an informal version for that, which is nun. So the whole conjugation becomes a nun in colloquial language. The first example, it says this couple is at the store. Couple is زوج and store is مغازه or فروشگاه. Usually فروشگاه is like bigger stores and مغازه is just a little bit like it's a smaller type of store. All right, so این زوج در مغازه اند. So here we need to add an aleph because مغازه ends in a silent he. And the informal is این زوج در مغازن. So you see this conjugation becomes a noun. And then we said earlier that when the noun or adjective or whatever is before the verb ends in a silent he, then we drop the silent he. And then it's like you put a short vowel a on the letter before that, and then you combine it with the conjugation. So مغازن. Next one, we want to say they're old, and old is پیر. آنها پیرند. The informal of آنها is اونها or اونا, and then پیرند becomes پیرن. So as you can see, this conjugation becomes a noun, پیرن. So اونها پیرن. Next one, they're very tired. So very is خیلی and tired is خسته. آنها خیلی خسته اند. Again, here we need to add an aleph before the conjugation because خسته ends in a silent he. And then the informal of آنها is اونها. And then the same thing with خسته اند becomes خستن. So we drop the he and a short vowel a is put on the letter t, and then this whole conjugation becomes a noun. So خستن. Now I'm going to read through these sentences one more time. این زوج در مغازه اند. آنها پیرند. آنها خیلی خسته اند. And here is the lesson summary. So in this lesson, we first learned about the subject pronouns, and then we learned about the verb to be, and also we learned the negative of the verb, and also we learned about the verbal ending and the contraction of the verb to be. And stay tuned for the next lesson. We are going to learn the interrogative, who, where, and how. We almost reached the end of the lesson, but there's just a few important points that you need to know. If you like this video so far, please like it and subscribe to my channel and share this video. One point that you need to keep in mind is that verb conjugations in Persian are very easy and they are very straightforward. Why? Because they always correspond with the subject. So here on the right side we have the subject pronouns, and on the left side we have the verbal ending. So this conjugation here, it doesn't matter what tense we have, always correspond with the subject. So by changing the tense of the sentence of the verb, the conjugation does not change. It will only change if you change the subject. But just know that there is an exception that you need to know. It is about third person singular, that the conjugation changes from past to past present, which we will learn that in the upcoming lessons. But other than that, keep in mind always conjugations in Persian, always the verbal ending correspond with the subject. Here's another important point that you need to know, and I'm going to explain it by using the sentence here. So here we want to say we are friends. So this sentence in Farsi will be translated as ما دوست هستیم. But a lot of the students, they go ahead and add a ha because they are translating also friends like the plural s in Farsi by adding the ha. So they say ما دوست ها هستیم. But this is wrong. We do not need to have a ha here because here we are the subject is introducing the state of being friends. The subject is introducing an idea. So in this situation, we need to keep the noun singular. And this is very in line, what I just explained is very in line with the concept that we learned in the previous lesson about the demonstrative pronouns. I'm not going to go through it again. Here's two examples. But if you don't know what I'm referring to, it's in the previous lesson. All right, but now we want to say we are good friends. So the noun has an adjective. So in this situation, the noun becomes plural. So we need to make the noun plural. And then we need to add a ye to the adjective. So ما دوستهای خوبی هستیم. And here the ye that you see here is just the ye that comes after the long vowel aleph. So the اضافه can sit there, the implied اضافه. So ما دوستهای خوبی هستیم. And this ye here that we add to the adjective is it is used to emphasize the quality expressed by the noun. So again, every language has many nuances and rules and regulations and exceptions. So this is a rule that you just need to memorize it. We reached the end of this lesson. If you found this lesson helpful, please remember to like, to subscribe to my channel, and to share this video. And also, if you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Khuda Hafiz.